Nothing beats snuggling up with your dog at bedtime, but if you're not careful, what should be a peaceful night can turn into chaos. Sleep is a particularly vulnerable time for dogs, and it's easy to unintentionally damage your bond if you don't handle bedtime right. In this video, we'll look at 8 common mistakes dog owners make when sharing their bed with their furry friends that could harm your relationship forever. Mistake number 1. Forcing them to sleep in bed with you. Having your dog sleep beside you might sound like a dream come true, but it's not something every dog wants to do, at least not immediately. Some dogs are too restless to stay put in bed when there are plenty of nighttime adventures to be had, while others simply prefer sleeping in their own cozy corner. If you try to force them to stay by picking them up and holding them on the bed, it won't result in a relaxed bedtime routine. Your dog might eventually give in, but not because they like it. It's just that they've realized there's no escaping. This approach only makes your dog feel trapped and can seriously damage the trust between you two. Remember, love your dog for who they are, not who you want them to be. Mistake number 2. Locking them out of the room. It can be frustrating when your dog takes over the bed or snores louder than a freight train, but locking them out of your room is not the solution. Dogs are social creatures, and being suddenly separated from their pack can be very distressing. They don't understand why they can't be near you and might feel abandoned, which can lead to whining, barking, or scratching at the door, making it impossible for anyone to get a good night's sleep. Instead of banishing them, consider setting up a cozy bed for them next to yours. This way, they can be close without being disruptive. You can even use an old t-shirt with your scent on it to make their bed feel extra comforting. Mistake number 3. Forgetting to leave a way out. Locking your dog inside your room might seem like a good idea, especially if you're worried about them wandering around and getting into mischief. But dogs, like humans, need freedom of movement throughout the night. They might get thirsty, need to go potty, or just feel like stretching their legs. If your dog wakes up and finds they can't leave, they might become anxious or start waking you up to let them out. Over time, this can make them associate your room with feelings of frustration or anxiety, and they might start avoiding it altogether. Always keep the door ajar or use a baby gate if you want to contain their movement without making them feel trapped. Mistake number 4. Disrupting their bedtime routine. Dogs thrive on routines. They feel secure when they know what's happening next and when it's happening. If your dog is used to going to bed at a certain time, they may become agitated if you decide to stay up late watching movies or working. You might notice them pacing, whining, or even nudging you towards the bedroom. Breaking their bedtime routine too often can make them anxious, which is bad for both their mental health and your sleep quality. Try to maintain a consistent bedtime for your dog, and if you're going to be up late, make sure they still get some quiet time and the opportunity to settle in without feeling ignored. Mistake number 5. Invading their personal space with blankets. It's cute to see your dog peeking out from under the blankets like they're in their own little den, but covering your dog with a blanket without their consent can actually make them feel trapped or scared. Dogs often like to burrow under covers on their own for warmth and comfort, but they need to do it on their own terms. Ambushing them with a blanket, especially if they're sleeping or not expecting it, can be startling and make them wary of your approach. Always let your dog choose if and when they want to be covered up, and respect their boundaries if they prefer to sleep on top of the blankets instead. Mistake number 6. Rolling over on them. Dogs are smaller than us, which makes them prone to getting accidentally squished during the night. While it's rare for a healthy adult dog to get seriously injured if you roll over on them, it can be uncomfortable and scary for them. Smaller breeds or puppies are particularly vulnerable. To avoid this, you can try the C position. Lie on your side with your back curved around your dog and one arm stretched above their head. This position, similar to how parents co-sleep with infants, creates a protective barrier around your dog and helps prevent accidental rollovers. Your dog will feel safe and you'll rest easier knowing you're not crushing them in your sleep. Mistake number 7. Over-cuddling or restraining them. Who can resist cuddling a fluffy dog? But dogs need their space, especially when they're trying to sleep. What might feel like a loving squeeze to you can feel suffocating to them, and being held too tightly can make them feel trapped. Some dogs enjoy a gentle snuggle, while others prefer to keep their distance, sleeping at your feet or even on the floor nearby. If your dog shifts away from your touch or gets up and moves when you try to cuddle them, respect their space. Forcing too much contact can make them feel uncomfortable in your bed, leading them to avoid it altogether. Mistake number 8. Waking them up for fun. When you're up in the middle of the night and struggling to fall back asleep, it's tempting to wake your dog for some company. But remember, just like us, dogs need their rest. Waking them up disrupts their sleep cycle, and they might not appreciate being pulled out of a dream just to entertain you. More importantly, startling them awake can trigger anxiety, especially if they don't know why it's happening. If this becomes a habit, your dog might start associating bedtime with unpredictable disturbances and could become wary of sleeping near you. If you can't sleep, it's best to let your dog continue their rest while you find another way to pass the time. There are millions of amazing dogs waiting in shelters for a loving home, each with their own unique story and personality. When you adopt, you're not only giving a dog a second chance at life, but you're also helping to combat the cycle of pet overpopulation and puppy mills. Plus, shelter dogs are just as loyal, loving, and full of life as any dog you could buy. By choosing adoption, you're making a real difference, not just for one dog, but for the entire animal community. So, next time you're thinking of bringing a new furry friend into your life, please consider adoption. You'll gain a lifelong companion, and they'll gain a forever family.